The Age of Enlightenment was the spark that ignited a revolution in human thought, forever reshaping our understanding of the world and our place within it. As the shadows of superstition lifted, visionaries like Newton and Voltaire emerged, illuminating the path to reason and intellectual freedom. And so, we embark on a journey to uncover the transformative power of this pivotal era, where the boundaries of knowledge were pushed and the course of human history was forever altered. In the early 17th century, the European landscape was a tapestry woven from threads of tradition, dogma, and intellectual curiosity. The Renaissance had stirred the waters of knowledge, but the dominant institutions of the time, the church and the monarchies, still held sway over the minds of men. It was an era when Galileo's telescopic observations of the heavens were met with a mixture of awe and trepidation as they challenged the geocentric model of the universe that had been entrenched for centuries. As we delve into this pivotal moment in human history, let us transport ourselves to the bustling streets of 17th century London, where the likes of Francis Bacon and Thomas Hobbes were engaged in lively debates about the nature of reality, knowledge, and power. The air was thick with the smell of coal smoke, freshly printed books, and the sound of horse-drawn carriages rattling over cobblestone roads. It was here, amidst the intellectual ferment of the Royal Society, that the seeds of the Enlightenment were sown. One of the key figures who would come to embody the spirit of the Enlightenment was René Descartes, a French philosopher and mathematician who had been deeply influenced by the works of Galileo and Kepler. Descartes' famous statement, "I think, therefore I am, cogito, ergo sum," would become a rallying cry for those seeking to establish a new foundation for knowledge, one that was grounded in reason, observation, and individual inquiry. As we follow the trajectory of Descartes' thoughts, we find ourselves in the midst of a Europe torn between the old certainties and the new uncertainties. The 30 Years' War had left deep scars on the continent, and the rise of nation-states like France, England, and the Netherlands had created an environment in which intellectual and artistic innovation could flourish. It was against this backdrop that Descartes' ideas about the nature of knowledge, reality, and the human condition began to take shape. In his seminal work, Meditations on First Philosophy, published in 1641, Descartes laid out a systematic approach to understanding the world, one that emphasized the role of doubt, skepticism, and critical thinking. By subjecting all knowledge claims to rigorous scrutiny, Descartes aimed to establish a secure foundation for human understanding, one that would be immune to the whims of authority, tradition, or dogma. Locke's notion of tabula rasa, the idea that the human mind is a blank slate, shaped by experience and environment, would become a cornerstone of Enlightenment thought, while Spinoza's conception of a unified, deterministic universe would push the boundaries of philosophical inquiry. The confluence of these ideas, in turn, would create an intellectual landscape in which the likes of Isaac Newton could flourish. Newton's groundbreaking work on optics, mathematics, and physics would soon revolutionize our understanding of the natural world, providing a powerful exemplar of the Enlightenment's emphasis on empirical observation, experimentation, and rational inquiry. As Newton's work on optics and mathematics began to gain widespread recognition, he became a prominent figure within the Royal Society, an institution that had been instrumental in fostering a culture of scientific inquiry and collaboration. The Society's meetings, held at Gresham College in London, provided a forum for scholars like Newton, Robert Hooke, and Edmund Halley to share their research, debate ideas, and learn from one another. It was within this stimulating environment that Newton's most famous work, Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, began to take shape. Published in 1687, the Principia would revolutionize our understanding of the natural world, introducing concepts like universal gravitation, inertia, and the laws of motion. Newton's groundbreaking work was not limited to the realm of physics, however. It also had a profound impact on the development of mathematics, as his work on calculus and optics helped to establish new methods for analyzing and understanding complex phenomena. The Principia's influence extended far beyond the scientific community as well, with its emphasis on empirical observation, experimentation, and rational inquiry helping to shape the broader intellectual landscape of the Enlightenment. One of the key figures who would help to popularize Newton's ideas and make them more accessible to a wider audience was Voltaire, the French philosopher and writer. Voltaire's writings on Newton's work, particularly his Elements de la Philosophie de Newton, published in 1738, played a significant role in disseminating Newtonian thought throughout Europe. By explaining complex scientific concepts in clear, concise language, Voltaire helped to create a sense of excitement and wonder among the general public, inspiring a new generation of thinkers to explore the natural world and challenge traditional authority. As the Enlightenment continued to unfold, the intersection of science, philosophy, and culture became increasingly pronounced. The salons of 18th-century Paris, hosted by women like Madame Geoffrin and Madame du Deffand, provided a unique forum for intellectuals to gather, discuss ideas, and engage in lively debates. It was within these salons that thinkers like Denis Diderot, Jean-Laurent d'Alembert, and Immanuel Kant would share their thoughts on everything from the nature of reality to the role of art in society. The Encyclopedia, a monumental project edited by Diderot and d'Alembert, aimed to compile and disseminate knowledge on a vast range of subjects, from science and technology to philosophy and politics. As the Encyclopedia project progressed, Diderot and d'Alembert faced numerous challenges, including censorship, financial struggles, and the daunting task of compiling knowledge from a vast array of contributors. Despite these obstacles, the Encyclopedia became a beacon of Enlightenment thought, featuring articles on topics such as reason, tolerance, and individual liberty. One notable contributor was the French philosopher and historian Paul-Henri Thiry, Baron de Holbach, who wrote extensively on the subjects of science, philosophy, and politics. His articles, often penned under pseudonyms, showcased his radical ideas on atheism, materialism, and a critique of traditional authority. The salons of Paris continued to thrive, providing a platform for intellectuals to engage in lively debates and discussions. Madame Geoffrin's salon, in particular, became a hub for artists, writers, and thinkers, including the likes of Jean-Honoré Fragonard, François Boucher, and the philosopher Claude Adrien Helvétius. It was within these salons that the concept of l'esprit philosophique, a philosophical spirit that emphasized critical thinking, skepticism, and intellectual curiosity, began to take hold. This notion would have far-reaching consequences, influencing not only the development of Enlightenment thought, but also the artistic and literary movements of the time. In the midst of this intellectual ferment, the Scottish Enlightenment was also gaining momentum. Thinkers such as David Hume, Adam Smith, and Francis Hutcheson were making significant contributions to the fields of philosophy, economics, and ethics. Hume's A Treatise of Human Nature, published in 1739 to 1740, laid the groundwork for a comprehensive understanding of human nature, morality, and epistemology. Meanwhile, Smith's The Theory of Moral Sentiments, published in 1759, explored the concept of sympathy and its role in shaping human behavior and moral judgment. As the Enlightenment continued to unfold, its ideas began to permeate various aspects of European society. The rise of Freemasonry, for example, reflected the growing interest in rationalism, tolerance, and intellectual fraternity. Masonic lodges sprang up across Europe, providing a space for individuals from diverse backgrounds to engage in philosophical discussions, charitable activities, and social reform. Figures like the German philosopher Johann Joachim Christoph Baudet played a significant role in shaping Masonic thought, emphasizing the importance of reason, virtue, and human progress. The intersection of science, philosophy, and culture was also evident in the work of the Italian philosopher Cesare Beccaria. His influential treatise on crimes and punishments, published in 1764, applied Enlightenment principles to the study of crime and punishment, advocating for reforms based on reason, justice, and human dignity. Beccaria's ideas would have a lasting impact on the development of criminology and penal reform, influencing thinkers such as Jeremy Bentham and John Howard. As the 18th century progressed, the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason, science, and intellectual curiosity continued to inspire innovation and discovery. The work of scientists like Benjamin Franklin, who conducted extensive research on electricity, and Antoine Lavoisier, who discovered the elements oxygen and hydrogen, exemplified the spirit of scientific inquiry that defined the age. The Royal Society, founded in 1660, remained a hub for scientific learning, with figures like Joseph Banks and James Cook contributing to the advancement of fields such as botany, zoology, and geography. As the 18th century drew to a close, the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason, science, and intellectual curiosity continued to shape European society. The French Revolution, which began in 1789, marked a significant turning point in the Age of Enlightenment as the ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity, inspired by thinkers such as Rousseau, Voltaire, and Montesquieu, were put into practice. The Revolution's Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, adopted in 1789, enshrined the principles of individual rights and freedoms that had been central to Enlightenment thought. The French Revolution also saw the rise of prominent figures such as Maximilien Robespierre, who played a key role in shaping the revolution's radical agenda. However, the Reign of Terror, which lasted from 1793 to 1794, marked a darker period in the revolution's history as thousands of people were executed for perceived counter-revolutionary activities. The fall of Robespierre and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte in 1799 marked the end of the revolution and the beginning of a new era in European history. Meanwhile, in Germany, the philosopher Immanuel Kant continued to develop his critical philosophy, which had a profound impact on the development of modern thought. His Critique of Pure Reason, published in 1781, laid the foundations for German idealism, while his Grounding for the Metaphysics of Morals, published in 1785, established the basis for modern moral philosophy. Kant's ideas influenced a range of thinkers, including Johann Gottlieb Fichte, Friedrich Schelling, and Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, who went on to shape the course of German philosophy. In Britain, the Industrial Revolution was transforming the economy and society, as new technologies and manufacturing processes enabled mass production and urbanization. Thinkers such as Adam Smith and Jeremy Bentham continued to develop their ideas on economics and social reform, while writers such as Mary Wollstonecraft and William Godwin explored the implications of Enlightenment thought for women's rights and social justice. As the 19th century began, the legacy of the Enlightenment could be seen in a range of fields, from science and philosophy to politics and literature. The rise of liberalism, socialism, and feminism, as well as the development of modern democracy and human rights, all owed a debt to the thinkers and ideas of the Age of Enlightenment. The work of scientists such as Charles Darwin, who published his groundbreaking theory of evolution in 1859, and Sigmund Freud, who developed the field of psychoanalysis, continued to push the boundaries of human knowledge and understanding. In France, the legacy of the Revolution continued to shape politics and society, as thinkers such as Auguste Comte and Claude-Henri de Rouvroy, Comte de Saint-Simon, developed new ideas on social reform and scientific progress. The rise of positivism, which emphasized the importance of empirical evidence and scientific observation, marked a significant shift in French intellectual life, while the development of sociology as a distinct discipline, led by thinkers such as Émile Durkheim, reflected the growing interest in understanding human society and behavior. As the 19th century progressed, the ideas of the Enlightenment continued to spread and evolve, influencing thinkers and movements across Europe and beyond. The abolitionist movement, which sought to end slavery and promote racial equality, drew on Enlightenment principles of human rights and dignity, while the women's suffrage movement, which emerged in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, owed a debt to the feminist ideas of Mary Wollstonecraft and others. The legacy of the Age of Enlightenment could be seen in the development of modern democracy, human rights, and social justice, as well as in the ongoing pursuit of scientific knowledge and philosophical understanding. The courageous thinkers and innovators who dared to challenge conventional wisdom and push the boundaries of knowledge have gifted us with a legacy of reason, science, and intellectual curiosity that continues to shape our world today. The Age of Enlightenment's emphasis on individual rights, democracy, and social justice has inspired countless movements and revolutions, from the French Revolution to the present day, reminding us that the power of ideas can transform the course of human history. Thank you for joining me throughout this historical journey. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, remember that To understand the present, we must first understand the past.